What is up, JG603 owner and operator, and of course, reigning cruiserweight champion here in TSW2 Sweet Wrestling. Back with another hot round of power rankings fresh off the presses. Bit of a weird one this week, of course, King of the Ring heating up. Let's see who's rising and who's falling. Let's get it. As always, right out the gate, some honorable mentions, some goodbyes. Joker, Animal here, Vibe, Swanee, all sliding out the rankings. A little bit of an activity, a little bit just kind of the fate of TSW. Some honorable mentions, though, as well. Of course, Rolly, Miss Chico, all working towards the intergender inaugural tag titles, I should say, in just a few short weeks at King of the Ring. Steph, a little bit higher in the rankings, though, of course, as she is still technically number contender for the Women's Championship, a Heavyweight Championship as well. We've got Big Fritz, huge in-ring debut, 1-0 here. Very likely we'll see him up in these rankings in the next few weeks. A little bit of a shout out for Grim. Grim will turn on Prod there. Going to see how that shakes out in the next week or two, certainly. Of course, Miss JG, touch on real quick, and Jen now separately going for the tag titles. A possibility we see some of those other folks later on in the rankings. LeBron should probably be ranked 26 at the least, but I haven't made him in 2K24. Yes, we are still in 2K24. No, we still cannot change power rankings. It's been a month. I don't know. Yeah, great. And then, of course, an honorable mention too to Casio. He has just been nuclear hot. Some losses, but he has looked good in the ring, so got to mention him as well. But let's get into the rankings, guys. Bit of an odd one, only because not active, but we're going to keep him at 25. Of course, we're talking Mecha Monster is qualified for King of the Ring, and we're going to see a lot of people on this list solely because of the King of the Wing. Yeah, big chicken fan. Wild Wings, Wingstop, who could possibly know? Jeez. It's Saturday morning, if you couldn't tell. Why would you know that? Anyways, guys, Mech, of course, been looking really good. Undefeated in singles competition and is really on a hot streak. And I think if it wasn't for Young, could very well be hardcore champion right now. So we'll see how Mech shakes out in the King of the Ring. We don't have the official bracketology out yet in terms of who's going to face who this upcoming week. But I tell you what, guys, you're not going to want to miss these quarterfinal matchups. They're going to be electric. But moving on in the rankings here, we got Huggies coming up from Unranked. Did get a big singles win this week, of course. So mentioned earlier, we'll be, of course, teaming with the aforementioned Miss JG in that tag team match. The only one is we don't know who Jen might have. It's also very possible she goes in solo, wins both belts. Considering that is the other half of one Raw Dog, I would not be surprised to see that happen. That feels like something he'd try to pull off, if you know what I'm saying. This one, a little controversial. We had to put him on here. I swear, I tell you what, contenderships aside in the past, title reigns aside, I'm loving these promos right now, and enough to where I'm like, yeah, we'll probably pop you on there. Maybe 25 would have been a good spot, but man, I tell you what, Boxie's cooking up something right now. I'm not quite sure what's going to go on with this story. Of course, we know Abek's still up in the air where he is. Safety and all that has been in question as of late. But we now, of course, know that the anonymous, distorted voice saying some dastardly things. Truly, Boxie brought it on himself. This type of thing, and I'm really curious how this shakes out in the upcoming weeks. I'm certain we'll hear back from Boxie this upcoming week and talk about a guy who's great in the promo booth. Huge win this last week. We're talking Johnny Clap, the Clap Daddy, of course. Looks good here. Looks a little rough right now in the ring. I tell you what, a little disheveled, getting some hair growth. Not really taking care of himself, but he's taking care of things in the ring. Moving on to the King of the Ring quarterfinals, could we see the king of the cruise awaits in the Jesus Christ TSW and Clap? We are going to find out very soon, ladies and gentlemen, and talk about, fittingly enough, a guy he knows very well. One ranked above LBJ, all these guys coming unranked, jumping on the scene here. I noticed the 20 to 25, you're going to see a lot of that, of course, as we're kind of tuned out the 40 plus, there's a lot of people keep track of, right? But LBJ, of course, here, King of the Ring tournament, and there's a chance we see those two. There's a chance. I don't know. We're going to find out. If it's not this week, you better believe we're hoping that they get through. But these guys, of course, always find themselves against each other one way or another. Of course, the roll-up Merchant, Clap ending the streak of LBJ. Clap with 2 title reigns, longest cruiserweight champion in history, passing LBJ. These two kind of forever rivals here in TSW. And talk about King of the Ring, we got Stonekiss. Little drama involved there, but we're going to pop him up a couple spots. Nonetheless, big win for Stony. Moving on to the King of the Ring quarterfinals. Could we be seeing the Viking, Stony? Absolutely. He has looked very good as of late. Let's see what's next. Talk about a guy who's looked good as of late. Looks good all the time. But also, hot streak here in TSW for the pair. We mentioned earlier, of course, Big Fritz, huge debut. Didn't quite get him on the rankings. One, he's not made, although there's a decent chance that, if we're in technical boxing, maybe Mac might have slid out the back with a LeBron. Or, anyways, I digress. Congregation looking to go after the trios titles. Should be in action this week. Finally, we are going to see those trios titles on the line. Team USA, Team America, as it's known. See what permutation of that team they utilize. But Rock, Sven, Fritz, hot streak. See if Team USA can contend. And speaking of them, kind of touched on them right there. Just again, I wish I could just put one faction in one slot. I mean, I guess I could technically. I could put Cap and just mention everybody. But for now, they're taking up 4 spots on the rankings, kind of in the same spot perpetually. Frankly, as trios champions, quarter of the trios champions. They're still champs, but they keep losing these singles matches, and they can't get it going, whether it's DT, Kopak, Cap. They keep trying to get the singles. They come back to the trios, the team. They're stronger. They're better together, certainly. Struggling separately, so it's going to be really interesting to see how this matchup goes next week, of course. They are once again reunited for that matchup with the Congregation. We're going to see how things shake out there. Moving on to some big numbers, some more champions. We got Miss Stony here at 13, Bama here at the 12 spot. A couple losses as of late, but are still champions, kind of similar to Team USA. I've struggled in singles, but they are still on that streak as a tag team. Miss Stony undefeated in tag competition at the moment. So, of course, a triple threat tag match expected at King of the Ring. We'll see how that kind of shakes out here. But really interested to see how this division continues to grow as they kind of picking up steam as of late as this group of wrestlers here in TSW. And talk about picking up steam. Once again, the Tony champion back on top, losing the hardcore title, loses the rematch to Yunk. I'm not going to fault him too much for that because Yunk is unstoppable right now. But still the Tony champion, the Tony title holder. And with a big win over Kasha, who, as mentioned before, has looked incredible as of late. That's a big win for Tony there. Tony will move on to the King of the Ring, and we'll be facing Stony. How fitting. Of course, Tony and Stony did, I believe, face off in last year's King of the Ring, so a bit of a parallel there. And we talk about kings, you got to mention the reigning king, not only BMI contender, but King Ched looking to defend the crown. Gonna have a big matchup this week, literally, physically, metaphorically, no matter how you look at it. It's a big matchup, ladies and gentlemen. We're gonna see what King Ched can do. Can he once again become King of the Ring? And most importantly, a possibility of holding the BMI title and the heavyweight, which has absolutely never been done. We've never seen the heavyweight champion with 2 singles belts. Actually, I don't think we've ever seen any wrestler with 2 singles belts. To my quick knowledge, the tag has happened with, but that would be absolutely record-breaking for King Ched if you're able to pull that off. And we talk about records being broken. You got to mention Steph here, of course. Is taking a step back from the singles title. She goes, let me go deal with the Chicos, get my business done. Turns out there might be a title on the line as well. Intergender tag belts coming at King of the Ring. But Steph inactive this last week, but again, still is kind of contended for Emma's title. Emma kind of hanging out right now, had a contendership opportunity given out to Miss Huda would answer that. Didn't quite go her way, but great showing nonetheless. So Emma looking good right now. Couple wins in a row, building momentum, but Steph, you better believe we'll be coming back for the title. And we're going to see how it shakes out. Of course, Rolly got a big win over Chico last week. 2 weeks ago, I guess it would be this last week. Both inactive, but Miss Chico will be battling Steph this upcoming week in singles action. Momentum, utmost importance right now for that belt inaugural championship opportunity. And talk about opportunity. This guy's going to take it by force. We're talking Dargan and the Dargantics. No way. Jose, this guy, he's undeniable. He is undeniable. I'll double check the numbers We are on 2K24, so I absolutely can double check the numbers here. I believe we are looking at the longest reigning BMI champion in history, and a bit of controversy to get there, ladies and gentlemen. Needless to say, he's a guy who captures the heart, the soul, and the hatred of the audience, but he is always electric when he gets out there. But this King Shed matchup is going to be an interesting one. Of course, both off this week. They're at the draft together in Wisconsin, all buddied up. Of course, in TSW history, they have been pretty tight, but, you know, I think Dragonn certainly signing the dark side. Shed becoming truly a fan favorite over time, and it's going to be interesting to see how this dynamic shakes out at pay-per-view. Mentioned a few moments ago, touch real quick on Emma. Again, that's just a random default design, which is funny. It does, that might be someone else's look in this game. Very funny. Anyway, maybe put something change that. Any Hoosers. Of course, reigning defending women's champion. Got to find a contender. I think kind of in a good, maybe bad spot, depending how you look at it, considering the tag titles taking up some action. Of course, Steph involved with the intergender tag belts, and Emma just kind of like, give me something to fight, give me someone to fight, and I'll line them up and knock them back. Of course, we're talking historic reigns. Certainly gonna have to hold that belt for another 100 days. Good luck, Godspeed, but absolutely a great start to this run for one Emma since moving into the women's division full time. Has looked really good in these last couple matchups. Excited to see what's next there, and talk about looking good in their division. It's Finn, it's Landmark. Finn did lose that singles match, but it was mech, and I mean, I don't know what happened there. Charles Robinson seemed to not want to count. I don't know what that's about. We are working on investigating internally about Charles Robinson, his overall poor officiating over time. You know, there are some moments where we laugh at Chuck. Oh, ha, 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 you screwed that. You screwed. This one was one where I looked at and I was said, something's not sitting right with me here. So we're going to look into that for poor Finn there. Did lose to Met King of the Ring, but King of the Ring win for Landmark, of course. Bit of a rehashed rivalry with Brandon. And I do believe this 2-2 lifetime, these guys against each other, and Landmark and Brandon. So interested to just kick the can down the line for a possible rubber match there. But Landmark will be moving on to the quarterfinals of King of the Ring. We'll see how that shakes out. We can confirm all the titles will be on the line of King of the Ring. So if Landmark does move on to the pay-per-view tournament, he's gonna have to pull double duty, maybe triple duty. But I think we just have the finals this year, King of the Ring. We will see how things shake out going forward. But let's touch on the top four. A little controversy is there's a minor shakeup here. Dropping a spot. We're going to put AJ back one. Great defense against CJ, but a little inactive as of late. You know, no fault of his own, certainly. Big win over a big time. Some controversy, words being thrown around about his good character, but I think since then, certainly cleared that up. Kind of worked out in his favor. You know, you threw some shade and people said, no, he didn't do it. And everyone's like, all right, well, good. Love him. I absolutely love this guy. So worked out for him in hindsight, of course. Looking to be a fighting champion this last week, went over CJ Sauce, but we're going to crown some true contenders this upcoming week. Both AJ and Raw kind of got to figure out what they're doing at pay-per-view. So let's get some contenderships figured out for some major titles this upcoming week. You know, the guys will have the night off, which could affect the top side of these rankings, but you never know when TSW how things are going to shake out at the end of the day. But drops back a spot, which means moving up a spot. We got to give Yunk this, you know, 10-0, another incredible defense, day in, day out. Every show we've had since he's debuted, he has looked incredible in that ring. Up in the 3 spot now. Again, 10-0, incredible. What's next for Yunk, you know? He's in an interesting spot right now. Kind of a little open challenge, maybe a little bit of a bigger opportunity, maybe more competitors at once. I certainly think one-on-one matchups might be a little bit below Yunk at this point, so excited to see what's next for our guy in the black and gold. But the top two very different matches this week, and I think it's pretty reasonable to argue either side of this, but it's gonna stay the same. I know it's me, so it was so close. I was this close, but end of the day, I'm trying to establish this title. You know, I got a big matchup next week. I thought it might be against Kopak, but Chris, huge win. TLC, we're hanging that belt up. Do we open the show again? I kind of think we do. I'm liking the way it starts and starting hot. I'll make sure not to book a second TLC Cruiserweight match directly after the first one this week. But JG taking that cruiserweight belt. I believe we're closing in on about, you know, getting not quite the upper echelon again. We're gonna do like a title history situation very soon, and hopefully I can actually edit in 2K25 soon, as well as them not yeet all my logos. But loving what I'm seeing here from everybody. But most importantly, guys, again, it's the number one, el numero uno. You know, it's tough to doubt greatness. Looked good this week, you know. Swain's a guy who has had some ups and downs, but certainly has a history with Raw. Didn't go Swain's way. Raw looked really good out there, especially the finish, the slaps into the comms band. But man, oh man, is this guy one to watch out for? Again, expecting to get some kind of contendership this week, maybe the week after, only because I look at this King of the Ring tournament. We got 8 people in there, 4 are losing this week. I don't want to just take the loot, but I think whoever loses this week could very well see themselves staring down the barrel of the road. But you're gonna have to earn that opportunity. You're gonna have to earn that thing. We talked about contenderships this week. AJ's we're definitely crowning this week. I think that's locked and loaded, but I think we wait one more week for Raw, because it kind of hit me right now while we're doing this, is you're seeing the wheels spin in real time here. The 4 losers of this round of the King of the Ring, we're gonna take those 4 and we're gonna put them in a bigger match, either an 8-man or maybe a chamber, and that's how we're gonna find out who's Raw guy King of the Ring. I think that's the perfect way to shake out the top of the card, because you can't just give the 4 a 4, because then it's like, I mean, you lost King of the Ring, then you get a shot at the champion anyway. That ain't right. But what is right is giving everybody a chance to fight on Thursday night for TSW Thursday Throwdown. Well, that's all I got for you today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, notification bell ding activated, all that good stuff. Absolute blast as always. Y'all been the best. Y'all been too sweet. Appreciate you. Bye. Goodbye.